When I started my college career, I had a full ride scholarship to any community college in the city of Chicago. Now, that's not really a big deal, but I could have taken my full ride scholarship to Malcolm X, which specializes in medical studies, and I could have studied to be a nurse, or I could have started a career in medicine. I could have been a doctor. But instead, I took my scholarship to Harold Washington and I chose theater and comedy and art because I saw a disease in our society that needed to be eradicated. Stereotypes. My biggest enemy. Assumptions made about any given group of people, especially minorities. Now, because of the way I look and the way my English sounds sometimes, I have firsthand experience with stereotypes. And my people, Mexicans, immigrants, Latinos, suffer from an array of stereotypes, from the obviously harmful ones, like that we're all criminals and rapists and drug dealers, to the more subtle ones but equally harmful, like that we all eat spicy food, that we all have really long names, and that we all marry very young and have several kids. To me, all of these stereotypes are equally harmful because they all do the same job. They take the individuality of a person to put that person into a cluster of people whose meaning is dictated by the stereotype. It doesn't matter what the stereotype is, it always dehumanizes an individual, and that is my problem with stereotypes. To me, there is one stereotype that is more harmful than the rest, and also more subtle than the rest, almost unnoticeable, but also almost deadly. And that stereotype says that Mexicans, immigrants, Latinos, are not human, but rather animals, aliens, work machines. In this country, the worth of an immigrant is measured by the work that they do. Think about it. When referring to immigrants, we are always referred to by our job title, which is of course always the job that the Americans don't want to do. Immigrants are the cleaning lady, the farm worker, the gardener, the cook in the line. We are no more than a commodity, a machine that does the job. And again, it's always the job that the Americans don't want to do. And what feeds the stereotype even more is that idea that we can only do the jobs that the Americans don't want to do. But that is not the case. It is not that we can only do those jobs. Is that those are always those are the only jobs that we are allowed to do. Thinking like this and being comfortable with this stereotype helps Americans to ignore immigrants, to not bother to care about us. Something that has really struck me the past few weeks is that when talking about the killings, the horrific killings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, the media always makes sure to emphasize that these two people that were killed were U.S. citizens, were white U.S. citizens. They almost make it sound as if the killings would have had been okay if they were brown undocumented immigrants. In the city of Chicago, an immigrant was killed, Silverio Villegas, and the outrage was just different. In fact, the story barely made it to the news. And don't get me wrong, this isn't a competition to see who gets more media coverage or who we care more about. All of these killings have been horrific and should have not happened. But clearly, there is two people that were killed that were more important than the rest. And of course, those are the two white US citizens. Immigrants are not humans in the eyes of Americans. It was out of that idea, out of that observation, that I set out to become an artist. I wanted to defy that idea, to prove it wrong. Something I noticed is that American media foments these ideas and stereotypes. In movies or TV shows, immigrants, brown people, Spanish-speaking people are always the criminals, the bad people, or the gardener, or the cook, or the cleaning lady. And the idea that the media was trying to instill in people is that if you don't assimilate to American culture, you are an undesirable or a criminal, like the immigrants portrayed in those movies and TV shows. And these ideas were not presented by accident. This was all done on purpose by the American media. Americans are so self-centered that they shut themselves out of so much that the world has to offer. And my ultimate goal as an artist was to give a taste of that world to the Americans. I wanted to show people that we are humans, that we are people with a language and knowledge and culture, and we are so much more than the stereotypes. But by the second Trump administration, I gave up. No more political activism, no more defying the stereotypes, no more changing the world. I went quiet, mostly out of fear of persecution. It is a real thing, and even more now during the second administration, I think it is more unhinged and more careless about the humanity of people. I know what detention is like, and I don't want to be back there, and I wouldn't want to risk any of my family being there. I also lost hope. I realized that change is not a real thing, and it doesn't happen in the blink of an eye. This country has been racist for far too long for any real change to happen, or for me to make it happen. Now, as an immigrant, and with everything that has happened politically in this country in the past year, seeing Bad Bunny perform on Sunday at the Super Bowl, all in Spanish, in a space that firmly belongs to English-speaking Americans, because let's face it, Bad Bunny is American, he is from Puerto Rico. It was a spark of hope. It was beautiful. He paid tribute to many artists that could have never dreamed of being on that stage, but that paved the way for him to be on that stage. Seeing Bad Bunny on Sunday was a tribute to the reason why I became an artist. The idea that we are all worthy, that we all belong with our language and our culture. And I have to say, and I am going to be real honest right now, I was a little bit upset to see Lady Gaga at first. I was like, why is Lady Gaga here? This is not the Lady Gaga show, this is the Bad Bunny show. Where is Bad Bunny? But then I understood that having Lady Gaga present, a white woman, reinforces the idea that Latinos and that Spanish-speaking people are not trying to take over the culture or even occupy the places that English-speaking Americans occupy, but rather it sets the idea that we can all exist and that it's not a battle to see who wins or who is better, but rather a shake of hands between cultures. We are all Americans, and we should all be equal, and we should all be allowed to coexist in the same spaces with our language and our culture. And if you don't believe that, then maybe it's time to take a look at that privilege that you have.